My husband and I travel in the winter, and we had just gotten back and had to go to the post office to get our mail because we were gone for nearly a month. And we had a registered letter that Don had to sign for, and he signed it and he brought it home. And it was a letter stating that Summit Carbon Solutions was planning on building a pipeline, and that we would be notified when the informational meetings were, and we could attend those. They said they were interested in a piece of our property. After that, we started getting agents coming to the door, leaving messages, leaving little door hangers on our door that they had been there and they had missed us, and so on and so forth. And I was just hearing rumors about exactly what was going on. And Don and I had discussed it, and he said, no, we are not going to have anybody putting a pipeline across any of our land. And because for one reason, he has done tiling on most of our land. Tiling is corrugated pipe that is put into the ground to absorb the water that runs over that land or over that ground, so that the ground above it is dried out so that we can farm it. There's numerous things that can happen. First of all, it damages the tile, and once you damage the tile, the dirt will start to filter in and get plugged up. That's one thing that can happen. As the ground freezes in the winter and then heats up and so on and so forth, we have shifting. We have shifting of land, or shifting of the soil. It can go up and down, which is hard. That's exactly what happened down in Mississippi, was they had rain and the clay washes very easily, and it put pressure on the pipeline because the pipeline was exposed then and it broke. But this piece of property is only like 0.6 of a mile from the city limits of Sioux City. And Sioux City is expanding to the east, and we are just to the south of Highway 20, connected to Highway 20 as one of the borders on our piece of property. And then we also go south with a gravel road that is on our west side. And right across from that are houses. It's a new housing development. And so with CO2 and all the research that I've done on how far the CO2 plume can go, it's dangerous. It's just downright dangerous. CO2 is heavier than air, so it stays down close to the ground and it displaces oxygen. So if you have a internal combustion engine, they will not run. An ambulance can't go in to get the people. If you're within just a short distance, I mean, if you're in the plume, which is odorless and colorless, and you happen to be down in that valley, it's just a matter of seconds. I have been writing objections to the pipeline since the beginning. And in April of 2021, I had a heart attack, my first heart attack out of nowhere. And then in August of 2023, I had another heart attack that was more severe. I had gone that was in August, and I had testified to the IUB down in Des Moines in July, the beginning of July, and it was just a month later that I had the heart attack. So in October, I was to have heart surgery. In the meantime, the IUB is taking testimony from people that the land is going to be, that the pipeline is going to affect. And they needed my testimony for our piece of land, why I did not want the CO2 pipeline there, or why we did not want the CO2 pipeline there. The doctor said, you need to reduce the stress. You've got to get your stress down because your blood pressure is high and the whole ball of wax. So I said, okay. And I was recovering, and it was a little bit more than I expected, and I was really weak. So I asked a friend of ours to speak for me. I made the arrangements with the IUB, called them, signed the paper, did everything that I needed to do in order to get a friend of ours to go and speak for us, because they said, Carole, you don't have to do it. You can have someone else speak for you if you like. And I said, yes, I do like. So anyway, I made arrangements with a friend of ours to go and speak. They called my name when I told him when it was, what time he had to be there and everything, and he went to the IUB hearing. They called my name and he took all the information up, what I asked him to say, and he was going to speak for me. And they said, you can't speak for her. And they gave no reason why. And so they took away my right to speak and have someone as a proxy speak for me, which I needed at the time. I went to an informational meeting in the county just north of us, to Plymouth County. We're in Woodbury County. And made some statements there and told the IUB that, you know, we did not want it across our land, and I could understand and sympathize with the farmers of Woodbury County, or not Woodbury, but Plymouth County. And there at this meeting was Jerry Hooser, who was the head of the IUB. I had already done a research on her and many others for Mrs. Reynolds' sequestration board, and she was on the sequestration board plus the head of the IUB at that time. And to me, that was I wrote an objection that all of that was a conflict of interest. So anyway, she listened to what I had to say because I already had the microphone in Plymouth County. The next night I went to Woodbury County and went to the informational meeting. And Jerry Hooser was up there in front, and all of a sudden I saw her pointing at me because I turned around. I don't normally sit with a group of people. I just kind of go by myself. And anyway, I saw her pointing at me, and I looked around, and there really wasn't anybody sitting by me. They were like 4 or 5 chairs away, and you know, I was towards the back. And after that, I didn't think anything of it. And I listened, and pretty soon a gentleman came up behind me and asked me to please make my comments short. And I said, okay, that's fine. And so I sat there. Then when it was time for open comments.
Were there any time restrictions on anyone else? Nobody else but you had time
No,
restrictions?
nobody else that I know of had any restrictions. He just walked back to the back of the room and stood there. So anyway, it came time for the comments from the public, and they said, just raise your hand and we'll get the microphone to you. So I raised my hand, good and high, and all the people around me got called on and got the microphone. And Jerry Hooser at that time said, we've had enough, we've been here long enough, this is it. And I never got to say anything at our Woodbury County meeting. When I was doing all the research, my husband was out doing things for other farmers. And he'd be gone for 8 to 10 hours to 12 hours a day. When I got up in the morning, and after I did the dishes and my few little chores around the house, I spent the entire day on the computer trying to trace, people that are involved in this. Where does the financing come from? Who are these people who are trying to want to possibly take our land? What's going on with them? Why do they want it? I investigated, went to government websites to find out about the money that could be paid for sequestration, and figured up how much, it was going to cost the government. And worst of all, the whole thing that dawned on me when I was doing this, these are my tax dollars that are paying a private company and their investors all this money. It's not right. And when it dawned on me that that was going on, enough's enough. This is what's happening to us in Iowa. Most of the people here are not corporate farmers. We're private. We farm our land. And if it can happen to us, they can come through your yard, they can come through your property, they can do anything that they want to because of this ruling. And it just isn't right. It's not right. God gave us property, the right to own property. The property rights are very, very important. That's one of the reasons that the founders came to the country, was because of their property rights. They wanted property rights. And it's enshrined in the United States Constitution. And to them to come onto my land and tell me that they want it because they can use it, no, it's not going to happen.